Well, that episode happened. Hello everyone, Gunnetter here, with a review of the Sherlock episode 2, The Lying Detective. Now, I have just watched it. Again, it is basically just finished. Very similar to last time. It has finished like 2 minutes ago. I don't think it's even half past the hour yet. Hang on a second. It is 34 minutes past. And of course, it finished at half past. So it is an immediate sort of review. Now, obviously, as time goes on, opinions change. It's like how, upon a rewatch of last week's episode, which I was very much praising, it is a little bit slower than I was sort of thinking. But saying that, it's one of those where my initial reactions were very good at it. Which is, I think, one of the most important things about a TV series. Of course, Sherlock has a fair bit of rewatchability, despite being a mystery one. But yeah, so this week's I thought was impressive, very good. One thing that I was concerned about was how they would deal with the grief side of things. Um, it was very, obviously with Mary's dying, it was going to be very curious how they dealt with it and if they did it well. And in this episode, they did it well. They dealt with grief and addiction, and I've never had addiction, but I have had grief, and they dealt with it very well. I think that seeing John Watson's coping of Mary being there or not being there, but him imagining her there was a very good way of doing it. I think that obviously having Sherlock going through hell to protect what's important, going down the whole path of addiction, it was very impressive. I think that it was also very good because it showed Sherlock's respect for John and vice versa. Mostly Sherlock's respect for John. It's sort of like it's very obvious that the opposite is true, but Sherlock obviously being that sort of person, I relate very much of the whole not really showing emotions that well, not showing true feelings. This very showed that very well. There was a line at the end where it's like, we're all human, even you, was very meaningful there. It sort of showed that obviously, although Sherlock obviously sees himself as a god and other people see Sherlock as a god, Sherlock sees John as that same level, which I thought was very good. I think the fact that it reacted to the whole John will they won't they cheating from the last episode was very good addressed. And then yeah, so I think that the whole addressing of that was very big. By the way, I don't think I've said any big spoilers yet. I think I've gone through a bit of the general idea of it, but not anything spoiler territory yet. However, I am about to break that. If you haven't seen the episode, then I'm going to be discussing a couple of things that are part of the plot, and there is a twist at the end, which I will again be spoiling. So yeah, so if you haven't watched it, then come back after you've watched it. But assuming you have watched it, for me, one of the good parts of the episode was actually Toby Jones's villain. I think that it was a very odd villain. He's one of them where, although the villain itself wasn't that good, it dealt with the issue, and Toby Jones is very good. Um, he's got that very menacing role about him when he wants to be menacing. Admittedly, when I saw him in the trailers, I assumed he was going to be a much bigger part. It's one of them. It wasn't an intellectual battle. I think that Toby Jones would have done very well in a Moriarty style role. So they have very much sort of implied that there is a carrying on of Moriarty's story, and I think that yeah, I think that that would be the big. That's how I imagined him. He has been downsized though from that, but that isn't necessarily bad because he did it very well. It was a very twist and turny, and it's one of them where you were always curious whether basically what Sherlock was doing. Was he off his head? Was he completely lying, or was he sort of in the middle of the road there? It's sort of like, was Toby Jones actually a serial killer? Of course, it turns out he was right, but also that. obviously Sherlock was off his head. It was very well done. Then obviously there was the reveal of Sherlock and Mycroft's sibling. Again, big spoilers. Seriously, no turning back if you hear this. So obviously at the end we had the big reveal of Sherlock's sister, um, which I'm assuming is H.H. Holmes. They mentioned it quite a few times in the episode that there was a serial killer, H.H. Holmes. The way that Toby Jones mentioned it, it sounded more like it was, you know, ancient history, but at the same time, I'm going to reckon that it is the sister because that's kind of obvious, as well as linking her to the Miss Me phrase, which obviously we have at this point associated with Moriarty. Of course, seeing that with Sherlock and the mind games and all that lot, we obviously don't know whether that is just to get Sherlock's attention and get him sort of riled up, because obviously Moriarty was very big, or whether she was actually in some way linked to Moriarty. I do like the way that they've sort of woven her through the series so that it was, I say series, it's only been 2 episodes, but still, it was sort of like, yeah, there was 2 or 3 different ways in which she was woven in. So she was obviously the woman that Sherlock was cheating on. She was the therapist, and then she was the person, Faith, I think her name was, the daughter of Toby Jones. And I think that was a very good way of introducing her. It showed her to be very smart. It's very clear just from the 2 minute scene we had with her that she is equal, if not superior, to Mycroft and Sherlock. I also think Miss Hudson got a hell of a lot of love in this episode. Um, I'm quite a fan of Miss Hudson. She has had quite a few good scenes, but overall, she's not usually that action. But in her versus Mycroft, that was bloody fantastic. Um, I thought that it was brilliant how she starts going on and on about how Mycroft is really stupid, especially just the casual way that she is about it, like turning to John and saying, "Well, you're stupid, but you're cute." It was so brilliant that way of doing it. Also, the reintroduction of the woman. Obviously, she was in the trailers. She's very clearly going to be part of next episode, and the reintroduction of her there was a very good way of doing it. It reminded us about the text tone. It reminded us that Sherlock saved her. And it's one of those where it was very good, especially when you think about the fact that although I personally go back and binge watch a lot, and there are a lot of people who are newer to the series, the woman was last in it 2 series ago, which I know series 3 was 3 years ago. I'm pretty sure that it was a year or two before that. So yeah, the woman hasn't been on the show for 4 or 5 years, even though it's only been 4 or 5 episodes at the same time. Um, but yeah, so that reintroduction was kind of essential, I think, and done well. So yeah, overall, it left me with some very good impressions. I do think it's an episode that may not age well. I think that it was very predictable, but on the first watch, that didn't remove any merit. Usually, I find that predictable tends to be worst on the first watch, and obviously, by the second watch, you already know it. Also, the predictability is lost. Of course, it's predictable when you know what's going to happen. There was a lot of little details that I spotted, and I think obviously may well notice even more details going forward. But like how you saw the note get dropped on the floor, and things like that, the subtle hints that there was more that would have just been thrown away. So I quite look forward to watching it again because I know there was quite a few details that I would have missed. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to next week's episode. If nothing else, this very was a good bridge. I think that it dealt with the issues of last episode brilliantly, but then obviously setting up for next week's episode. Um, and next week's episode looks fantastic. Like I say, we've very clearly got a sibling who matches Sherlock and Mycroft here. Um, and yeah, I really look forward to seeing it. I will definitely be watching it as soon as it is on. I will be hugging the TV suite and watching it as it's live. I can't even wait until sort of it goes on demand. So yeah, so I hope you've all enjoyed. Feel free to leave your discussions down in the comments below. Also, any theories? I'm more of a, I like doing my theories. So if you do have any theories or questions that you want to ask, and you want me to sort of try and find the answer to and delve into, leave them in the comments below. Any feedback, anything. And yeah, if there's nothing, then I shall see you next time. Bye.